Welcome to The Monster Report, a show highlighting those entertaining creatures of film history. I'm Nick Adam Poling, your host, and for this season, we're going to be looking at the monsters of the Universal lineup. First up, it's the Mummy. 3 days prior to Christmas, 1932, a film was released that sent audiences to the mysterious country of Egypt. During this time, Egyptian expeditions, legends, and artifacts being unearthed were fascinating American audiences. Meanwhile, a screenplay was being written about a character named Cagliostro, who had been miraculously blessed with long life and had lived for centuries. The idea was scrapped, but later adapted to become the screenplay for The Mummy. In the role of the title character, Boris Karloff delivers a haunting performance, spending a majority of the film looking like this, as Ardeth Bey, supposedly an Egyptian man who knows the location of a tomb that will be a sensational discovery for British archaeologists. Little do they know that they are playing right into the mummy's hands. Karl Freund was the director. This was his first film as director, but he had experience as a cinematographer for the films Dracula and The Murders in the Rue Morgue. Freund wasn't exactly popular with the crew during the filming of The Mummy. It has been said at times he had them working all day and all night until dawn. Jack Pierce created the makeup effects for Karloff, transforming him into the undead Imhotep. Pierce worked already with Karloff on Frankenstein a year earlier. His style gave the actor the ability to perform through the makeup, rather than restrict him. This process took hours to apply the makeup. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't the mummy wrapped in bandages the entire time and slowly lumbering around looking for victims? Well, that's a cliche that has been attached to this film for years. In reality, he was only wrapped up in bandages for a few minutes of screen time. The rest of the film, he looks like this, which is just as eerie and frightening. Those shots of Karloff's eyes with the dark circles around them is just enough to give anyone nightmares. Zita Johann plays Helen, the female lead and love interest of Imhotep. Since she looks like Princess Anck-su-namun, his long-lost lover, Imhotep decides Helen should be the embodiment of her resurrected soul. Although she didn't get along too well with director Karl Freund, she respected and admired Boris Karloff. Why did she not get along with director Freund? Could it have been that incident where he literally had her thrown to the lions in an unused flashback scene? Now, this film shouldn't ever be mistaken for the movie Dracula. Seriously, it has nothing in common with Dracula. Except that it's a story about an undead man who comes back to life using his hypnotic powers to meet women, physically manipulate his enemies, has a weakness to a symbol, and ultimately meets his demise at the end of the film. But that's just coincidence. It's totally not Dracula. Of course, there is the fact that they both come out of a coffin. Edward Van Sloan plays the enemy. David Manners plays the female lead love interest, and a character goes crazy upon encountering the main title character. But these are definitely two different films. They have no similarities. Oh, I forgot to mention that Jack Pierce did the makeup for both, Carl Laemmle produced both, and Swan Lake is the music played during the opening credits of both films. But like I said, this film is completely, utterly, entirely, and unconditionally not Dracula. Officially, this film has no sequels. The other films that feature a mummy are essentially a new series of films in a separate universe from the original 1932 classic. It had a remake in 1999, starring Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, where the mummy is Imhotep. And it even has a separate character named Ardeth Bey. Not a bad series of films, if you forget about The Scorpion King, which is a spin-off of the sequel of the remake of The Mummy. Whew. The original Mummy is a great classic that moves a little slow but sets a great tone with innovative camera angles, moments of silence, eerie long shots, and a great score. The Mummy is only one of the many perfect monster films in the Universal lineup. Next up, Lon Chaney Jr. puts on makeup in the moonlight to become the Wolfman. We'll see you then.